Brexit makes economic relations between North Rhine-Westphalia, my home state, and the UK more difficult. The replenishment of goods is much more complicated than before. This hits many companies hard, but it also creates unexpected new jobs. Since 1995, there has been a contact point in Cologne for all lovers of the British way of life. In the English shop, you can find newspapers and knickknacks with a London flair. Above all, groceries from orange jam and canned baked beans to Strongbow cider, a cider with little alcohol. We received the first delivery from England on March 10th, reports marketing manager Anna Maria Böhm. Before that, startup difficulties would have prevented supplies. Because while goods were ordered without any problems before Brexit and the beer tax only had to be paid monthly for British beer in Germany, everything is now very complicated. For example, all products containing milk and meat in Great Britain would have to be certified by a veterinarian before being exported. We can't offer bacon and sausages at all at the moment, says Böhm, who also looks after the webshop, which usually stocks around 1,000 products. At last, we were only able to offer our customers around 400 products, that was said. After the British decided to leave the EU in a referendum in mid-2016, exports to the United Kingdom fell by 0.6% in 2017, according to the Federal Statistical Office, and around 4% in each of the following 2 years. By contrast, 2020 was a much worse year for foreign trade with Great Britain, for example, with a decline of 15.5% up to and including December. Despite the agreement, there has been a customs border between the EU and Great Britain again since January 1st, says foreign trade expert Gerhard Lautwein from the Trade Board North Rhine-Westphalia in Münster. He reports that some smaller companies in the region have already withdrawn from the UK business because the expense of shipping and collecting certain products is too high due to the newly ancillary costs. The big ones who have a lot of experience with exporting to other parts of the world can do all of this, says Lautwein, whose Chamber of Commerce and Industry, together with the Bielefeld Chamber of Commerce, created the newly created country focus Great Britain and Ireland for all 16 North Rhine-Westphalian Chambers of Commerce in January, and they have taken over that topic and advise companies in the events of problems. Even at John Crockett, a specialist in sweaters and tweed suits, the winter goods did not arrive as usual in January and February. This time we didn't get the first parcels until the beginning of March, says owner Thomas Schmitz. Customers also had to be patient online, where the Cologne-based company now generates more than 2/3 of its sales. In the actual condition, it's not a surprise. In a shop, Schmitz allows a glimpse into a customs paper that certifies the wool does not violate the provisions of the Washington Convention on Endangered Species. Yet sheep are actually not an endangered species in Europe, says Schmitz with a slight irony. His Irish goods now find their way to the continent via France, via England. But Schmitz has had big problems with British tweed fabrics since the beginning of the year. They used to go straight to the Portuguese factory, which manufactures according to our specifications. Now, however, the goods must first be delivered to a shipping warehouse in Germany and then processed there before they can be sent to the tailors in Portugal. After all, Schmitz does not have to pay any customs duties on textiles and only has to add the German import sales tax of 19% to goods from the kingdom. Nevertheless, a lot of work and additional paperwork is necessary because of the customs clearance. That will also be reflected in the prices. Schmitz expects the price to rise by around 5% in the coming months, and a 3-piece tweed suit will then be 20 to 30 euros more expensive. Because many British companies are also suffering from the new restrictions, many of them are setting up branches on the continent, including on the Rhine and Ruhr. Felix Neugaard, head of the state's own foreign trade promotion company in North Rhine-Westphalia, Global Business, reports on 143 British companies that have settled there since 2016. For example, JSP Safety Products, a company for helmets, protective goggles and hearing protection that now also produces in Düsseldorf. According to Neugard, these 143 companies wanted to create up to 2,800 new jobs in North Rhine-Westphalia. A larger wave of settlements was expected in Germany as a result of Brexit, says Neugard. But many players in Great Britain wanted to wait and see what the new situation is. At North Rhine-Westphalia.global business, further settlements are expected, including in the services sector. In any case, the London office recorded a noticeable increase in inquiries at the beginning of the year. We are assuming that after the startup difficulties and the pandemic-related decline, some export business will return, says the managing director optimistically. North Rhine-Westphalia continues to rely on a close relationship with the kingdom, also economically. The online mail order company The British Shop in Meckenheim near Bonn is not quite as optimistic. Many British companies actually thought that after the separation from the EU, everything would continue as before, only better, says founder Wolf Siebel, who has been trading in British products of all kinds for more than 30 years. In fact, however, it is the case that customs duties are also incurred depending on the origin of the raw materials or the place of production. Siebel mentions the popular mugs, that means tea and coffee mugs, as an extreme example. They are designed in England but made in the Far East. This means that they are not only subject to customs duties but also to European anti-dumping taxes. This brings the total to 48% of duties and taxes. Another example is the very popular ginger wine. We can no longer offer it after we have used up our supplies, says Siebel, because the manufacturer in England is not prepared to meet the high requirements for imports into the EU and to bear the associated costs. But because direct orders on the island are even more difficult for private individuals, Siebel continues to hope for good business. The English shop, which belongs to the Scotsman Alexander McWhinney and also has an offshoot in Bonn, may soon also want to supply other retailers with British goods. And we can already see that orders from other EU countries are increasing, says Anna-Maria Böhm. It won't be easy, but we want to continue to be there for our customers. So it's quite an interesting thing with all these little shops, but that's why I wanted to talk about this. It's another set of examples from the practice, and that shows again what is all affected and how people are affected. It's not the point that you have to discuss the whole thing on a high, very abstract level. You have to look at the people involved, at the people affected by Brexit. And that's why I will continue to bring these examples again and again from all different kinds of Europe, from all different angles, because that's what's happening. It's affecting real life. And it's affecting real life in most cases negatively. And it will have impacts in other areas as well. The UK's departure from the EU is likely to have an impact on the conduct of UK investigations, both internal and external. But the December 2020 trade deal will not limit the consequences of Brexit in this area. Close cooperation by law enforcement agencies in the UK and the EU is likely to continue. But it may take longer for information and evidence to be shared, and the UK has lost access to some criminal justice databases maintained by the EU. With regard to extradition, although the UK has exited the European arrest warrant scheme, the deal makes provisions for the surrender of citizens to and from the UK under arrangements not dissimilar from the EAW scheme. Uncertainty remains in relation to the transmission of personal data from member states to the UK, although the EU has now published draft adequacy decision on the UK data protection legislation. Companies conducting internal investigations will want to continue to monitor this issue. The EU has implemented a number of initiatives designed to improve member state cooperation on a range of criminal justice issues, including the sharing of intelligence, collection of evidence, and arrest and surrender of suspects. Although the UK chose to opt out of certain justice and home affairs measures during the course of its membership, it was a party to the EAW scheme, and it participated in both Europol and Eurojust, agencies promoting cooperation between member states in combating terrorism and organized crime. How significant was the UK's cooperation with other member states through its participation in these schemes? Between 2010 and 2016, the UK received 62,563 extradition requests using an EAW, resulting in 11,148 arrests. The UK made 1,700 requests, resulting in 1,100 arrests. It took part in Europol operations tackling, among other things, terrorism, illegal immigration, child sexual exploitation, money laundering, intellectual property crime, sports corruption, and cybercrime. As recently as last year, evidence gathered abroad through the UK's Eurojust participation was used in a criminal trial relating to the death of 39 migrants in a lorry in Essex. The Brexit deal means that there is likely to continue to see close cooperation on criminal justice issues, albeit with some differences. Importantly, the surrender of citizens between the UK and member states was expressly included in the deal reached in December, and the further extradition regime may not differ significantly from the EAW scheme in terms of the number of requests and arrests, or in terms of timings. An uncontested extradition under the EAW scheme took 16 days on average. Although it is worth noting the differences between the regimes, including that the new regime makes provisions for states to decline to surrender their own nationals. With regard to obtaining evidence from member states, the UK is no longer part of the European Investigation Order Scheme, and the December deal provided that UK-EU arrangements would revert to a mutual legal assistance scheme governed by a 1959 convention. The process may take longer. While the European Investigation Order Scheme gave states 30 days from the receipt of a request to decide whether to execute it, the new arrangements allow 45 days. The December deal also alleviated concerns that the UK would lose access to EU criminal justice databases. The agreement preserved arrangements for the reciprocal exchange of passenger data, DNA, fingerprints, and vehicle registration data, and for the exchange of criminal records, although the UK's loss of access to the European Criminal Records Information System may lead to slower turnaround times, as well as information on wanted or missing persons. Also, the UK will continue to cooperate with Europol and Eurojust, but it will have no say in the management of these agencies. There have also been concerns that internal investigations may be affected by Brexit in terms of the ability to transfer personal data from the EU to the UK, but on February 19th the EU published draft decisions on the adequacy of the UK's data protection legislations. If these are formally adopted, data transfers will be able to continue freely. In the meantime, bridging arrangements preserving the pre-Brexit position will remain in place until the end of June 2021, meaning that personal data may still be transferred from the EU to the UK, including by companies conducting internal investigations, until the adequacy decisions are formally adopted. The impact on cooperation between UK and EU law enforcement agencies would clearly have been much more dramatic in the event of a no-deal Brexit. Many of the key tools available pre-Brexit to a UK law enforcement agency investigating corruption allegations will remain at their disposal, even though the formal mechanisms have changed and even though turnaround times may suffer. These tools include the ability to obtain evidence from EU member states in admissible form, to secure the surrender of suspects from such states, and to access intelligence and information such as criminal records. At the level of policy and strategy, however, the UK's role in EU criminal justice arrangements will be diminished. Although it will continue to cooperate with Europol and Eurojust, for example, as I said, the UK will no longer have any voice in how those agencies should be run. This is inevitable given the UK's new status as a non-member state and so a third country. Other non-EU countries such as Norway and Switzerland benefit from criminal justice arrangements with the EU without having the ability to shape EU policy in this area. But they are part of the EEA, and that's a different thing again. What is important in the context of law enforcement is that the mechanisms needed for close cooperation between EU and UK agencies are still in place. But about the adequacy decision with data protection, I don't see the end of it yet, because I'm quite sure that Schrems is taking that once again to the European Court of Justice, and two adequacy decisions with the US, Privacy Shield was one of them, were taken down by the ECJ because of that. And so I would say let's wait and see what the ECJ will say about this, because there definitely will be a case in that course about that. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.